Hi everyone, Radhe Radhe. In this video, we're going to be doing chapter 8, verse 10. And Swami Mukundanand has clubbed 9 and 10 together. In 9, Bhagwan Shri Krishna had talked about what are the things that God possesses, what are the qualities that God possesses. And in verse 10, he's talking about the time of death. And if we are focused on Bhagwan Shri Krishna at the time of death, we will be sure to attain Golok Vrindavan, which is not that easy. And this is following the longer meter. I again forgot what the meter styles are called. I remembered because in chapter 2 there were a lot of these with the longer meter, but then it went back to the shorter meter and I forgot. Okay, so let's sing it together. It's a slightly different tune. Okay. प्राणाय काले मनसा चलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमवेश्य सम्यक् सातारं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम्. I practiced this, but I again lost it. Okay. One who at the time of death fixes his life hair between his eyebrows, and by the strength of yoga, Ashtanga yoga, with an undeviating mind, engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion, will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so let's do the things. Pranaya Kale, at the time of death. Kala means time. Prayana Kale. Okay, at the time of death, Manasa, by the mind, Achalena, without being deviated. Achal is like sthir, it's fixed. So, without the mind being deviated, Bhaktya, in full devotion, Bhakti. He's using the word Bhakti very, very clearly here. Bhaktya, engaged, Yuktaha, engaged. Yoga Balena, by the power of yoga. And Prabhupada explains this here. So, at the time of death, without the mind being deviated, in full devotion, bhaktya, by the power of yoga, cha, alain, bhruvo, the two eyebrows, madhye, between, pranam, life air, aveshya, establishing. So, when you're establishing the life air, samyak, completely, he, tam, that, param, transcendental, achieves, transcendental, param. Purusham, Param Purusham. So he's explaining the Param Purusham, Param like ultimate person, which is God. Upaiti achieves Divyam in the spiritual kingdom. So it's a very, very clear verse. There's no confusion here. But what he's saying is that you, at the time of death, if you fix your life hair between the two eyebrows by the strength of yoga and an undeviating mind, engage yourself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion, will certainly attain the spiritual kingdom. Param Purusham achieves in the spiritual kingdom. Divyam. Okay, so so for those practiced in yoga, it is recommended. So it's not just saying that you have to do yoga; it's saying also full devotion. Bhaktya he's using here, right? The word is like both together. So what Prabhupada here is saying is that you don't need the yoga. The practice of Sat Chakra Yoga involving meditation of 6 chakras. Pure devotee does not need to do that. At death, he can just remember, and this is explained in verse 14. So I'm very curious to see verse 14 now. Yoga Balena is significant because without the practice of yoga, whether it's this Sat Chakra Yoga that he's talking about or Bhakti Yoga, you cannot come to transcendental state of being. You cannot remember God at the time of death unless you have practiced a yoga system, especially Bhakti Yoga. Because one's mind, we've talked about this in the last few verses, because one's mind at death is very disturbed. So you must practice yoga in real life. So he's merged 9 and 10 together, and most of the explanation here we've talked about in the previous verse because it was all these 8 things that he has talked about were in verse 9. 8 qualities of the Lord. So we don't need to go through that again. Okay, so yeah, that's it for verse 10. We'll do chapter 8, verse 11 in the next video. Wish you a day filled with spiritual growth. Radhe Radhe.